Yeah, you might have noticed I'm not Ben Turner, or even Ben Turner in a wig. But yeah, so yeah, as Pete said, it was a real highlight last year, the IMS Anthem, and Tom, our man on the blog, did a great job with this track, "Remember the Love," and the Soul Avengers remixed it in 24 hours, and we kind of do the same thing. Yeah, so the anthem's back, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you this year's producers, Dirty Vegas. So for those of you that don't know too much about them, they came to prominence in 2002 with the single Days Go By, which was heavily aided and abetted by its use on a Mitsubishi car advert in America. And on the back of that, the single topped the Billboard charts in the States, became a UK top 20 hit, and they even went on to receive a Grammy for that, for Best Dance Single. Followed by the self-titled debut album in 2002, which reached #7 in the Billboard charts and went on to sell nearly 1 million copies. The band took a break in 2004 after the release of their second album, but regrouped at the end of last year. They've just signed a toolbox and have single Changes out now and an album to follow. And they've also been back on the DJ tip, performing at one of Barack Obama's inaugural parties with Dubfire in Washington, and playing at this year's Miami Winter Festival. So it's got a couple of good DJ spots for you. Right, so if we just have a little bit of background on the band, I think that, you know, as I was saying, there was quite a key moment when your single got used on this Mitsubishi ad, and I think it's quite relevant. I mean, it's the kind of thing that gets talked about quite a lot at IMS, but, you know, there's ways and means of synergy and stuff, and that was quite a while ago. So, I mean, how did that come about? How did that happen?
Steve?
Testing, yes, we are. I mean, for us, it come along after kind of many years of making tracks and essentially house music. We'd all kind of known each other through DJing, and then, you know, the kind of natural progression from that was Paul and Ben, you know, got curious and got into the studio and stuff, and they kindly invited me along one day. I was a kind of session percussionist, and we started working on songs, and you know, sometimes with underground house music, you know, it's very hard to write a song or something that's melody based on, you know, on a drum loop and stuff. But you know, we managed to do that, and you know, found ourselves in a band and writing songs. And yeah, I mean, one of our songs was called Days Go By, and thankfully, Mr. Pete Tong, you know, played it on Radio 1, and it gained some attention, and you know, miraculously ended up on a massive campaign in the US. It's, you know, for us, we'd never experienced that whole branding kind of side of things, and you know, you go from kind of 1,500 copies of vinyl of a record to, you know, being on a commercial in the United States, and you find yourself on tour there. It's, you know, it was a, you know, a very kind of, you know, enlightening way for us of the potential of, you know, putting a song on a TV commercial or in a movie, and, you know, all these avenues now that have opened up since, you know, music's changed. I mean, the stigma that was attached to, you know, maybe putting a song on a film or on a TV commercial 10 years ago was, you know, we got certainly ridiculed for doing it, didn't we?
Right. And do you think that's changed now? I mean, do you think there is a shift in the consciousness now that people are slightly more accepting to that?
Of course, I think people need another avenue to get their music out there. It's hard to get on the radio, it's hard to get things, but if you get your music on a commercial in front of millions of people rather than thousands of people, it's a great avenue for people.
Yeah. I mean, one thing particularly with that track, the fact that, you know, you're into American homes, you know, throughout nationwide, and you know, really bypassed the radio network, which was quite, you know, it's quite tough to crack the American radio network. So it did show, you know, something, you know, if you get it to people in a mass way, that you know, it can actually, you know, go very big. And
yeah, I think sorry, Button. Before that, not really that many people in America have heard dance music,
right?
As it is, yeah. Because it was like 2001, 2002,
sure.
And everyone, when they come up to us, they kept on calling it techno.
Right.
And talking about the whole the way the American radio system is regimented, it's very much like rock station, hip hop station, country station, and so, you know, for certainly European dance-based acts to even have half a chance to, you know, break the States or even open people up to this kind of music, having the Mitsubishi campaign, putting us on the television station, you know, watching it, your favourite show, we were there like in the middle of it, and it just opened us up to a whole new audience over there.
So, and you also, I mean, you've got tracks on like Friends, and you've done some, you know, scored a couple of movies as well. So, I mean, who was the key kind of person within your setup to get you that? Was that the publisher or the management or the label, or was it personal context? How did it work?
I mean, the break with the TV ever actually happened from a company, Deutsche LA, advertising company in LA, and one of their guys was actually in Europe on business, and he saw the video for Days Go By on MTV and just fell in love with the track, and so we actually got approached. It was more they came to us rather than us actually actively looking for it. We were actually in the middle of completing our first album on Parlophone. I'm very focused on just doing that, getting out on the road and touring it like every other band does. And then, you know, they came to us. So.
Fantastic. And you changed, you know, not on Parlophone anymore, and now on Toolroom. And why was there, you know, had a 4-year gap? You know, why did you decide to get back together again now?
Rehab.
That's what happens when you get a US commercial.
Yeah,
rehab.
He's not kidding. Trust you.
No, I mean, you know, anybody here that's in a band or, you know, in a partnership of some kind, you know, sometimes there's emotional handcuffs, there's professional handcuffs, and, you know, we just decided, like anybody, you know, we're going to go and try and do some other stuff and sleep around and. You know, no, you know, just try other things.
If you're in a band, it's like being in a marriage, and some things happen, some things don't, and you can't stay forever together. So we had a little divorce.
Yeah. Have you gone into counselling yet?
Yeah. Counselling happened a while ago, and we got back together.
Yep. Ben got the Nord lead. I got the congas. Paul got the technics, and
we went off our merry way.
Off we went in 3 different directions.
Great. So here we are, IMS Anthem 2009. You've got a good standard from Tom last year to beat. So the brief is basically you've kind of created stems for this track, and you're going to mix it within the next 24 hours. Then tomorrow we're going to do another panel, similar sort of thing with Above and Beyond, where they're going to take your track and then do a remix of it. And it'll be played out probably tomorrow night, I should imagine. It's going to be released, not sure quite how yet, but it will be released. 20% of the profits go to Dance for Life, which is a worldwide project. This is Dance for Life is a worldwide project to actively inspire young people to get involved in the fight against HIV and AIDS. And they use elements of youth culture, including music and dance, to spread the message and inspire action for people. So that's a very good, worthy cause. Right, so this anthem, how did you get the gig in the first place?
I think I was drunk one night and asked Ben. I said, Ben, do you want me to do it? I saw it last year, we can do it. And then a week later he called, we're like, shit.
There was talk that you kind of phoned him from the Miami conference at 5 in the morning saying, yeah, we're going to do it. Is that true?
You know the story then, yeah. It's actually, yeah, it's quite true. But then it's an honour to do, because the Jedi did it last year and it's Obi-Wan. And again, it's a great thing to do in front of our peers and people we respect. And it's a nice thing to start the season, to start by Ibiza. We're making, obviously it's called the anthem, but it's be an anthem for some people. It may be for you, an anthem may be for you, maybe not for someone else. So it's horses for courses, music.
So what do you think the main elements of an Ibizan dance anthem are for 2009?
Melodies, vocals.
Right.
And then, because it's club music, I guess bass lines and percussion to get you grooving.
And you're very much a song-based act. I mean, is that something that, you know, getting that balance between groove and melody, is that something that you
I think for us, you know, when we first started out as a band, it was, you know, we'd all kind of met, you know, seeing rock bands, and, you know, we all kind of come here and we're going to show our age. We came here in the very late 80s, and I mean the very late 80s. So that whole kind of culture of you know, bands at the time were experimenting, you know, with you know, certainly with electronics and producers that were renowned in that. You know, I remember listening to, you know, when Paul Oakenfold was working, you know, with the Stone Roses, and just thinking, oh, this is, you know, this is a shift, this is a change and stuff. And you know, it's kind of frustrated me of like, you know, I've got an absolute passion for dance music, you know, whether it be a percussive, you know, instrumental track or something that's, you know, big and vocally. It's trying to find the marriage of them two that'll work. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And, you know, I think we've kind of, you know, older and wiser now, of like, you know, you just got to make what you make, and you know, there's certain things that we're never going to be, and certain people, you know, are, and you know, we just, you know, write songs, and I think, you know, when we was asked to do this, the only thing we could possibly do was trying to maybe, you know, bearing in mind that we, you know, was told that, you know, respected artists like Above and Beyond are going to remix it tomorrow, so, you know, they're going to kind of, you know, pick up the side of what Ibiza represents as far as nighttime, which is, you know, the fantastic clubs and the super clubs and that whole experience. And I think for us, we thought, well, okay, let's do something that's, you know, on the more kind of daytime side of things, because, you know, Ibiza is not just about, you know, running out to the biggest club and stuff. There is also the daytime culture, which is anything from a group of friends just, you know, finding themselves on a beach to, you know, going along to something in an afternoon. And, you know, we've all kind of done that. And that's a beautiful side of the island that I think, you know, people don't necessarily think of when they first think of the place. So, and like for me, certainly lyrically, I just wanted to reflect that.
So yeah, you're the singer. So who does what basically? We've got Steve and Paul and Ben.
Steve's sort of the singer of the band. We all between us can play instruments and percussion and hit things and make noises. Ben is the guitar player when we play live. I'm the synth player and the brains of the computer if it works. And Steve sings, plays guitars, plays percussion. And between us, we all like produce stuff together. So it's a bit of a joint effort.
Right. Okay. So down to the nitty-gritty of doing it. You've chosen your track. What's the track called?
The track's called Tonight, and I think we're supposed to sort of done it beforehand. But if you're writing a song, it's a little bit tricky to try and sit here with pen and paper and write a song in front of everyone in 32 minutes. Yeah. So it's like Blue Peter style. We've come with something already.
I did the lyrics on the plane, and I'm not trying to excuse myself, but, you know, thanks British Airways.
It's a good title for the track, because you actually have to finish it by tonight. So
yeah. So if you see us out later, just say, get home, you've got to mix it down. So.
Well, if anybody in here that kind of grew up in England, then you'd understand that there's a TV show called Blue Peter, and he's kind of one that we prepared earlier, but, you know, only a little bit earlier.
Right. Go on YouTube later, you'll find out.
Right. Okay, so we're getting into the making of the song. So where do you start? You know, even before the computer bit. I mean, what's your kind of your starting point?
We can start because obviously we can play instruments stuff like that. We can start with a guitar or a piano, and get the chord structure. So it's actually a song being made rather than sitting in the studio and making a little beat and a little groove, then sending it to someone. We actually sit there with a piano and actually make 4 chords, and then the melody comes from the chords and you write the song on top of that. It's old school song making.
Right, which is quite surprising, because I thought you were going to say bass drum and groove.
Bass kick, snare, get in there.
Sometimes, you know, Paul will send over to me like 6 minutes of an 8-bar loop that, you know, it's just got some amazing kind of loop that he's kind of made up. You know, Ben will then take it away and maybe put some guitars on it, but if it's going to end up a club track for us, or if it seems like it's heading that way, then you strip them elements back and just, you know, essentially, you know, turn it into a club track.
Right. Okay, so let's take us through the track.
Okay.
Go on.
As we said, we started with some chords to make a song. If you want to sing on the song, you need some chords or some sort of melody to sing on top of it. But you can't really have just a single note bass line going digga 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 digga, because there's not really any melody there to sing to. So as we said, one we prepared earlier, we come up with these 4 chords, which we sounded quite ethereal, quite anthemic. If you can hear it. And on that, as you can see, with a little pointer here, if anyone wants to sing, we've got a little filter going up and down, just to give it a little bit of lift. I've got a little screen here, you've got a big screen, so I can't really see what I'm doing. But basically we started with that, and then we tried to choose a tempo, so we chose 130 BPM, just to try in between late night, and that's anywhere between 124 and 134, just a guess number. So from the strings, because that's what we started with, we've got a kick drum and a snare drum to give you this. Now you've got the bass bone and you've got some chords, you've got something to play along with. On top of that, just a simple little hat to pick up the pace of the track. tap your toes if you want out there. And from there, the next thing we sort of do is come on to try and feel the beat, because at the moment the beat's just quite linear, hasn't really got much to do it. And I'll pass to Ben, who will just program some more drums for me.
Thank you so much.
We usually do this in cyberspace, don't we? Like
It's literally this, we just send
Passing it
stuff
over
to each other on iChat, which is the modern technology. You can sit, I sit in South London, he sits in North London, he sits in Boston, and between us we can make a record.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, so we've got the sort of chord progression with the strings and the basic kick snare, which obviously, you know, sounds very sort of sampled, almost. So we hear that down there. And just trying to think of, you know, the Ibiza Anthem thing, you know, what it meant to us. Balearic is a word that comes up a lot in our book all the time when we think about doing records Ibiza style. So from that point, it was like, maybe let's get something electronic in there, let's get something live in there. So electronic percussion and some live guitar. So I'm not going to go too techie with like how we're doing this, but
You haven't got the camera anyway, so they can't see you.
oh, there you go. You can't even see what I'm doing. So basically, a program called. There we go, kids.
That's Reason for everyone at the back.
That
can't
would just
see.
know.
And the actual patch music, it basically emulates the 909 drum machine, which was obviously, you know, integral part of the whole creation of house music. And I just took it right back to literally just, if that's coming out, 1 second. Yeah, so just taking it back to a pulse. And it's just basically working around a bar. So then we wanted to add just some electronics. So through sequencing on the actual program, which unfortunately you can't see right now, but basically we just started to add some simple electronic sort of sounds into the beat.
Just adding like simple little elements to make the groove a little bit more fill in, to give it a bit more rhythm.
So then we put that back in with the beat, with the strings, that sample kick and snare with the strings. We've got now electronic elements. The important thing with the Reason electronic percussion is just making sure that the tuning hits perfectly with the chord progression, obviously, because we're trying to, you know, create a song here. So that was the electronic part from the Balearic kind of idea, and then just basically just adding some like sort of simple guitar. So I just sort of played in a little, just a little kind of thing that just sort of sits in the groove. Just kind of just pick it up a little bit, and then sort of going back to like as much as we love like house music, it's indie bands that, you know, we used in that Balearic time, like The Cure and those sort of guys. So just trying to add little kind of touches of like that sort of old sort of guitar a little bit. Nothing too crazy, just little bits. So we're
No, it
some
doesn't sound like
electronics.
Stardust. That's not Stardust. Keep playing that. Promise it's not.
It's not Stardust.
Nearly Stardust.
So we're bringing electronics into it. We're bringing some live playing, but still trying to find like a loop for it, because we don't want to, you know, we don't want to like kind of improvise too much in it. Just want to keep that kind of house sensibility. Make sure we have a really solid loop. And then Paul, I think I'm going back to you, mate.
Okay, my turn. So now Ben's left me with this. Obviously, next is to add the bass line. And again, because we're coming from the band element of dance music, we thought we'd leave a live bass. And it started off being like this. Which, you know, on its own, it sounds really nice, but we thought the idea could be to make it a little bit more choppy, so to got a little bit more movement, a bit more action.